Today on Amazing Dinosaurs is a T-Rex versus IRex collection, and I've got a bin overflowing with T-Rexes and IRexes here. Plus, I've got one of the new dino trackers right here that we'll check out as well. Let's get started with these super colossal figures. This is the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex with the dark brown coloring and the black detailing along its body. The other super colossal T-Rex I have selected for this collection is a custom colored one. Check out this light blue coloring and the dark red eyes. And this T-Rex figure is definitely a lot older than the Dominion T-Rex figure. And we're gonna stand them together on the T-Rex side. And now for the IRex side. This is the super colossal IRex figure. I believe was released as part of Camp Cretaceous. It's got a whole lot more bumps and texturing compared to the T-Rex figures, and I love its teeth. And that figure is gonna go over here on the IRex side. And next up, why don't we open up the brand new dino trackers Indominus Rex. Now this new IRex figure is very interesting. It's actually quite a bit smaller than many of my other IRex figures. You can see the barcode scanner right there for the app, so you can check that out on your phone. Of course, it's still got the same coloring and detailing as many of the other IRex figures, but this one has a feature that I don't know I've ever seen before. It has the button on its tail to activate the chomping. But check that out, there's some glowing green lights inside. That's pretty cool. So now let's set this on the IRex side, right in front of the super colossal. Now let's go over here to our bin and grab another T-Rex. We're first gonna go with this one. I believe this is a Camp Cretaceous battle damage T-Rex. They actually released another one for Jurassic World Dominion that's pretty similar, other than it has different coloring. But these figures are pretty cool because they've got the huge battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this right underneath the Dominion T-Rex. Now back to the IRexes, we're gonna grab this camouflage IRex one. This one looks pretty wild. Now this one is actually a custom colored IRex. So all this coloring you can see here was done in detail by someone that I bought from on eBay. Even the blood on its mouth too. That's pretty awesome. Now let's find a place for it on the IRex side. How about way there in the back? There we go. Now back to the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with this big figure. This is the Terran T-Rex. This Jurassic World T-Rex has the classic brown coloring over most of its body and a slightly lighter underbelly. You can see it's got some hidden battle damage along its face. It looks like those are kind of scars. That's pretty cool. But the special feature of this figure is the button on its back, which causes a huge tearing action. And not only that, but there's another button on its back to swing the tail back and forth too. So now let's set this on the T-Rex side, and we're gonna have it go way in the back over here. And this T-Rex is really face to face with that IRex figure. Next, let's grab this huge IRex figure right here. This is the Battle Damage Edition IRex. Check out the size difference between this one and the Dino Tracker IRex that I just bought. This one might be twice the size of that one. And it's still got all the cool texturing and spikes and detailing. Plus it has the battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off. Now let's set this one in the back here, right next to the super colossal IRex. For the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with the Jurassic World Dominion version. Now this T-Rex figure looks very similar to the Dominion super colossal figure right here. You can tell that this was the color theme that they were going for that film. And like many other T-Rex figures, it has the tail that can move the torso around, as well as open and close the jaw. And we're gonna put this one right next to the older super colossal T-Rex. Let's dive back in here. This other giant T-Rex figure is one of the classic IRexes. This Jurassic World figure is pretty similar to the battle damage one way back here, except that it doesn't have the battle damage on the side. Instead, it has a button right on its back used for slashing its claws. Plus, of course, you can use the button on the tail to activate the jaw. And we're gonna set this one right next to the battle damage IRex. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex from Jurassic World. And this figure is built a little bit differently than a lot of the other T-Rex figures. You can see that its legs actually have different joints, as well as this big joint right in its torso. And I'll show you what that does. So it has this really cool action where it lifts up its head to roar. And the other cool part is that you can actually twist the tail to get stomping action with sound effects. So that's why those weird looking joints are right there. And of course, this T-Rex figure is gonna go on the T-Rex side. This next one is a pretty special IRex figure. This is a hybrid edition IRex. Now this Jurassic World figure actually came out for the first Jurassic World movie and was made by Hasbro instead of Mattel, who makes many of the newer figures now. It's got some crazy coloring on its arms and its underbelly and feet, and a bright red along its back and its head too. Plus there's a hidden action button on its side that you can press to activate more spikes on its back. So now let's set this on the IRex side, right on the front lines. Now right here is that Jurassic World Dominion battle damage T-Rex that I was telling you about earlier. Now let's compare it to the earlier version that they released, and they're pretty similar in shape and size. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually the exact same figure, but with different coloring. And this Dominion version is a much more like orange-brown coloring over all of its body, but it's still got the battle damage on its side. Now let's set up this T-Rex right next to the others. This next IRex figure is pretty unusual actually. It looks totally different than many of the other figures. This figure is still made by Mattel, but I believe it's from the Imaginext line. So it looks to be like a figure for a slightly younger audience. But it has one of the most unique attack actions that I've ever seen. When you move its tail up and down, it actually swings its torso in all sorts of directions. That's pretty cool. That is very unique too. So let's go ahead and set it down on the IRex side. This T-Rex figure is another extreme damage T-Rex, but it is not like the others. And that's because it does not have the battle damage opening on the side that you can press a button, but rather it has this painting all over its body for the battle damage. And other than that, it has a very orange coloring with the darker brown on top. And let's set it in the back here next to the Dominion T-Rex. This IRex figure is another one made by Hasbro for the first Jurassic World movie. And it sure is quite a bit different. First off, it's got this real feel skin along its neck and on the top of its head. And instead of having a chomping button on its tail, you can actually move its arm to open and close its mouth. And you can kind of tell on its back that it has lights underneath whenever you move its arm, but it's pretty faint, so you can't really tell when it's light out. But nonetheless, let's set it down on the IRex side here. For the T-Rex side, we're gonna go with another figure that was released for the first Jurassic World movie, made by Hasbro. This smaller T-Rex figure is a light tan color, much lighter than the Dominion damaged T-Rex back there. And it looks pretty different in design too. It has a much longer head, a smaller body, and it has a single action button on its back for the chomping action. Now this figure is pretty old, so it doesn't work as well, but we're gonna put it right next to the extreme battle damage T-Rex on this side. Up next, we've got the Feeding Frenzy Indominus Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot smaller than a lot of the Indominus Rex figures we've seen so far, but it still has a pretty large face for how small its body is. And it's got some unique special features. First, there's this button on its nose that you can get some sound effects from. Then you can move its tail to open up its mouth. Then you can feed this Indominus Rex by pressing down on its mouth, and it'll chomp its mouth closed. Now let's set this IRex right on the front lines against the T-Rexes. This next figure is a classic T-Rex, I think was released for the second Jurassic World movie, which is Fallen Kingdom. It's got the classic brown body with a darker top, and a button at the top of its head for the chomping and roaring action. And we're gonna put this guy right on the edge because we're running out of space for all these T-Rexes. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure released for Jurassic World Dominion. It's pretty basic in design. It has the same coloring as all the rest, but its one big feature is that it has this speaker on its side and this button on the top for the sound effects. Let's place this dino right behind the Feeding Frenzy IRex. And I've actually got the Sound Surge edition for the T-Rex as well. It's actually a little bit smaller than the IRex figure, but it still has the button on its top for the sound effects. And we're gonna gonna place this one on the front lines of the T-Rex side. This next figure is an even smaller IRex figure. This is from the first Jurassic World movie as well. It has some battle damage on its side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail on this figure to move the head and chomp its mouth. Now let's place this kind of in the back for the IRex side. We're getting down to just a few T-Rexes left. This is a Lego T-Rex figure for Jurassic World. It has kind of similar coloring compared to the Jurassic World regular figures with the brown, and it's got some darker brown detailing along its body. So why don't we place this right up front here next to the Sound Surge T-Rex. I've also got the Lego IRex figure. This one, interestingly, is actually a similar color to the Lego T-Rex over here instead of the classic gray coloring for the IRex. I think that makes it pretty cool. Plus, it has some really cool teeth. They're pretty unique, I think. Check that out compared to the T-Rex over here. And here's the IRex's teeth. And our next T-Rex figure is a super small green T-Rex figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a pretty large face for its size. It has some battle damage right on the side of its body, and you can use the tail to chomp the head and move the head back and forth too. Let's set this up right next to the Lego T-Rex. And here is our final IRex. This, I believe, is the Bite and Thrash Indominus Rex. Now, similar to this T-Rex that we just saw a moment ago, this one has the battle damage right on the side, and you can use the tail to move the head up and down and chomp the jaw. And we're actually gonna leave this figure right here, right in front of the Lego IRex. And here is our final figure of this collection. It is a juvenile T-Rex figure. It has a light green body with a darker brown accenting on its back, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth open and closed, which is pretty cool considering how small this figure is. Now the full collection is set up. Who do you think would win in this battle? The T-Rexes or the IRexes? The first T-Rex to check out is this new 93 collection Real Feel T-Rex. Check that out. It has a rubbery skin and it has a stomach compartment so you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs. And the prey that it's up against is this brown and blue Triceratops. This figure also comes with sound effects and a head movement action. Now let's move these figures to face off against each other. The Predator and the Prey. The next T-Rex that we're checking out is the new Dino Trackers Tyrannosaurus Rex in this awesome tan coloring with the yellow coloring on the top and the brown striping. Plus it's got this really cool headpiece and it has a chomping action button. And the prey that it's up against is this massive Stegosaurus figure. This one is in the brown, tan, and green coloring, and it has two action buttons. This first button here moves its head up and down, and this second button swings its tail back and forth. So now let's place the T-Rex on the T-Rex side here, and the prey Stegosaurus on the prey side. Next up is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. This T-Rex has a massive roaring action versus its prey, the Ankylosaurus. This figure's from Jurassic World Dominion. It features the dark orange body with the brown on top and tons of spikes and a tail that controls the head. So now let's get the T-Rex in place and also its prey in place back here. Up next, we've got the new Legacy Collection Dark Green Tyrannosaurus Rex figure with the gray and yellow striping. It features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head to chomp. And its prey that it's up against is the Kentrosaurus. This figure looks quite a bit like a Stegosaurus, but it has some massive spikes on its back and its tail and coming out of its sides as well. And it also has this torso swinging action that you can activate right on its back. So now let's get the T-Rex in place over here and its prey on this side over here. This next T-Rex is a pretty incredible one. This is a custom colored Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. Now in this beautiful camouflage color over its whole body, and it still has the battle damage on the side. And its prey that it's up against is this massive Pentaceratops figure. It has a huge frill on its head, and it comes with 2 action buttons. The first moves its head up and down, and the second swings its torso side to side. So let's place the T-Rex over here as the predator and the Pentaceratops over here as the prey. Our next predator T-Rex is this smaller T-Rex made by Hasbro instead of Mattel. And not only that, but it is a custom colored one. So it is now a bright red T-Rex with some black spots all over its body. And the prey that it is up against is actually another carnivore. This is an Allosaurus figure, and this one comes in the gray and yellow coloring all over its body. So now let's place the T-Rex right over here and the Allosaurus right over here. This next T-Rex is also red, but an even brighter red than the last one that we saw. Plus it has some fiery orange and yellow coming on its sides too. And it has an attack button on its head for chomping and roaring. And here is the prey that it is up against. This is a Spinosaurus in the green coloring on the top and sides. There's some tan, there's some dark orange, and it has some bright yellow eyes. Plus, on this figure, you can move the tail around to control the head and the horns. Now let's place the T-Rex over here on the T-Rex side, and the Spinosaurus over here on the prey side. Now it's time to open up this new figure that I'm sure you saw at the beginning. This is the Chase and Roar Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it transforms too. Let's open it up. And here it is in its T-Rex form. It's got the classic orange coloring, and you can see some of the parts are gonna turn into the car parts. So now let's see it in the transformed version. And here it is in the car version. Looks pretty cool. It's got the classic coloring for the Jurassic Park Jeeps. It's pretty amazing how small it is compared to how big the T-Rex was too. And the prey that the Transformer T-Rex is up against is this Ankylosaurus figure in the green, gray, and lighter gray coloring. And it has an action button on its back to swing the tail back and forth. So now we're gonna place the Transformer T-Rex / Jeep right here on the T-Rex side, and the Ankylosaurus over here on the prey side. This next T-Rex is the Camp Cretaceous Epic Roarin' T-Rex, one of my favorite. It has the light tan coloring on the sides, a little bit darker on the top, but the best part is this tail and button on the tail that you can move around to control the head in a really lifelike way. And that T-Rex is going up against this Iguanodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It has the light yellow tan coloring with the brown detailing on its body, and an attack action when you press down on its body. So now let's place the T-Rex way back here on the T-Rex side, and the Iguanodon right back here next to the Pentaceratops. This figure is also from Jurassic World Dominion, and it is the classic T-Rex figure with the new dark brown coloring and the black on top. And it has an action button and a swivel action on its tail, so you can control this figure's torso and its jaw. And up against that T-Rex is this Rajasaurus figure, also a carnivore, but a whole lot smaller. It comes in the dark blue coloring with the gray detailing and the purple spikes on top, and an attack action when you press down on its body. So let's put the T-Rex way back here on the T-Rex side, and the Rajasaurus over here on the prey side. The next T-Rex is another massive one. This is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. It has some of the best painting and detailing on its body, and it has some really cool yellow marbled eyes too. And up against that T-Rex is the Ouranosaurus figure. I think this is from Camp Cretaceous. It has a dark green body with some yellow detailing and some orange underneath its chin, and a little bit of blue on its mouth too. Plus it has an action button on its side that you can move for sound effects and head movement. Now let's put the Hammond T-Rex over here on the second row, and the Ouranosaurus right next to the Rajasaurus. This next T-Rex is another Legacy Collection T-Rex in the dark green coloring, but it's a bit different from the one that I showed you earlier because it only has the black spots on the top, but it still has the really cool button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring. And the prey that it's up against is this Scorpionator figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a brown coloring over its whole body. It looks like it almost has scales on its skin, and some orange detailing along the top, and some bright orange eyes. Plus, it has an attack action when you press down on its body. So we're gonna place this T-Rex right here next to the Hammond Collection T-Rex, and the Scorpiovenator over here on the other side, right next to the Ankylosaurus. Next up is another brand new figure to my collection. This is the T-Rex collectible from the Noble Collection. So this is a multi-piece collector's edition. You can actually place the T-Rex in the display right here. Got the awesome banner right on the side, just like in the first movie. And then it also comes with this nice little protective case that you can put right over the T-Rex, and it has a little background as well. And the prey that collector's T-Rex is up against is this Parasaurolophus from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got some really cool blue and orange detailing, and the blue right along the top of its head too. So now let's place this collector's T-Rex right here in the back, right next to the Transformers T-Rex Jeep, and the Parasaurolophus right in front here next to the Scorpiovenator. And last of all, we've got the massive Terran T-Rex figure. This T-Rex has the gray-brown coloring on the sides, a darker brown along the top, and the lighter underbelly. But best of all, it has these two massive action buttons on its back. One activates the tearing action, and the other button activates a huge tail swinging action. And the final prey for this Versus collection is this Pachycephalosaurus. It has a pale purple coloring and some darker purple detailing along its back and along the side of its face too. Plus, there's an attack action that when you press down on the tail, it activates its headbutting action. Now let's go ahead and place this Terran T-Rex way in the back over here, and this Pachycephalosaurus right in front of the Tyrannosaurus. Let's get started with the biggest T-Rex figures. This one is a custom colored Super Colossal T-Rex. This is one of my most brightly colored T-Rexes. This one is super cool and will be the first on the right side. Over here we've got another Super Colossal T-Rex. I believe this one is from Camp Cretaceous. It has the bright orange sides with the brown on top and the lighter underbelly. So let's place this on the left side over here. Going back to the right side, let's grab this Super Colossal Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. This version of the Super Colossal T-Rex features some of the darkest coloring that any of my T-Rex figures have. And let's put this one on the right side. And for our final Super Colossal T-Rex is another custom colored one. This one is a light blue-gray color all over and has some bright red eyes. I think this figure actually used to be the same color as this one right here. So let's put this figure on the left side to face off. There are our Super Colossal figures. Now let's move on to the rest of the smaller figures. This T-Rex is the Terran T-Rex. It has a button on its back that you can use for a really cool tearing action. It swings its entire neck around and closes its mouth. And not only that, but it also has a button to swing its tail back and forth too. All right, what team should we put this one on? Let's put it on the right side team. Up next is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. This figure came out pretty recently. It features much more detailed coloring and texturing, plus you can move its body in all sorts of different directions. Now let's put this Hammond Collection T-Rex on the left team. Here is the epic Roarin' T-Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. This figure is one of my favorite T-Rexes because of its realistic coloring, and it actually has a roar sound effects with vibration. That is battery operated. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this one on the right team. For the left team, we're gonna go with the smaller Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. You can see that compared to the Super Colossal version, it's actually quite similar with the black on top and the dark brown on the sides and the yellow eyes, but obviously just a whole lot smaller. And we're gonna place this one actually on the left team. This T-Rex is another custom-colored Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Jurassic World, and this one features some really cool camouflage coloring all over its body. And you can even move the tail for a jaw-snapping action and for a roaring action too. Now let's put this on the right team for the face-off. Now back to our bin. What one should we grab next? Let's go for this bright orange one. This looks to be like a battle damaged Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has some painted slashes on its neck and on its chin, as well as on its leg and its torso. And this seems to be a little bit smaller than a lot of these figures. And we're gonna go ahead and put this on the left team. Wow, look at that size difference between this one and the Hammond Collection T-Rex. For the right side, we're gonna go with this other battle damage T-Rex, but instead of painted battle damage, it actually has an activated battle damage slash right there that you can turn on and off. It's also interesting that this figure is a much darker orange than that battle damage T-Rex. And we're gonna put this one on the right team. Next up, we've got a larger T-Rex figure. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. And this T-Rex figure actually came with this cage that you put on its face. And once it's on there, you can actually break free from it. That is really cool, and it's probably one of my favorite features. And we're gonna place this T-Rex on the left team. Right over here is another super brightly custom colored T-Rex figure. This T-Rex is another fiery red color, and it actually has very similar design to this super colossal T-Rex right over here. You can see all those similarities. And now we're actually gonna place them on the same team, on the right side. All right, the time has come. We are gonna check out this new custom colored T-Rex that I ordered, and I actually haven't seen it yet. You can see the tip of the tail right there, so let's go ahead and pull it out. And here it is. All right, it is another custom colored camouflage T-Rex. That is super cool. It's got the bright green on the sides and then brown and black and tan all over the rest of its body. And this one looks to be actually a battle damage T-Rex, like this bright orange one right over here. And look at that, you can actually turn the battle damage on and off still. And actually this figure seems to be pretty similar in color to this older custom colored camouflage T-Rex. Look at that, they're pretty similar. They both have a lot of the same colors. This is really cool. And instead of having them on the same team, I'm actually gonna put this one on the left team over here so they can face off against each other. Our next figure in this T-Rex versus T-Rex collection is this dark green T-Rex. And this one was actually not custom colored. This is how it came. And comparing the two colors, the custom colored green is a lot brighter than this green. And this T-Rex still has the button on the top of its head for the chomping action. Now let's put this T-Rex on the right team. Let's keep going here. Let's grab this one next. Here is another very natural colored T-Rex. Looks like it's a light gray color on the sides and dark brown on the top. I bet that this T-Rex would blend into rocks or a mountainside really well. Its body is fully posable and it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action. And this T-Rex is gonna go over on the left team. I've got at least one more bright orange T-Rex figure. This figure is a little bit older. I think it might be from the Fallen Kingdom era. And like that super colossal figure in the back there, it has the bright orange body with the brown on top, and it features the chomping button. Let's move it on over to the right team. Here's another crazy looking custom colored T-Rex. And this figure is actually quite old. I believe it's from the first Jurassic World movie. I believe that this figure used to be a tan color, actually just like this figure right here. These two figures are basically identical, other than the coloring, of course. And they both got a button on the top of their back for a chomping action, although they don't work too well anymore. Now let's put them on opposing sides. The custom colored T-Rex is gonna go on the left team, and the original tan T-Rex is gonna go on the right team. I've actually got one more T-Rex figure from that same era. This figure is basically the exact same size, although it has different coloring, and this is actually how it came too. So it has the dark green on the body, but it has some reflective gold along the top, and then this interesting design running along its neck and its side too. But coolest of all, it actually has some hidden spikes on its back and its head, so that when you press the chomping action, its spikes spring out too. Now what side should this T-Rex go on? Let's have it go on the right team. Coming up next, we've got a smaller T-Rex figure, and this is actually a model T-Rex that wasn't made by Hasbro or Mattel. It features some brown coloring with the black stripes, And since it's a model, you can't actually move any body parts. And let's put this figure on the left team. This next figure is another model T-Rex, and it has some kind of tiger-like coloring with the orange-yellow body and then those black stripes right on top of that. Let's put this T-Rex model on the right team. Got a few more model T-Rexes in here. This one is a dark green with black striping, and on this model T-Rex, you can actually open and close its jaws. Now let's put this one on the left team right there. And here is one more model T-Rex figure. This one is also brown and black, pretty similar to this T-Rex right here, but it is quite a bit smaller, and on this figure, you can actually open and close its jaw too. Now let's have it go on the right team. Next, let's check out some Lego T-Rex figures. This first one is brown and bright orange. It features a fully posable body and a huge jaw. And this one's gonna go to the left team. Now let's grab that other Lego T-Rex figure that I have in here. This one is a lot darker brown. You can check out the color difference between the two right there. But in shape and size, they're pretty similar. Although I will point out that this one has white teeth and the teeth on this figure are not colored at all. But nevertheless, let's set this one on the right team. And we're back to the figures made by Mattel. This is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It's smaller than many of these other figures in here, but it has a button on the top of its back to activate the sound effects. Let's see if we have any more room for this T-Rex here. Now here's a wacky looking T-Rex figure. This is a Gujitsu Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it is actually licensed by Jurassic World, so this is an official figure. And the feature of this figure is that it's got a super squishy and super stretchy body. Check out this crazy stretching. All right, now I don't know that this figure is actually gonna stand up, but we're gonna place it on the left team here. I've also got a Funko Pop figure in here. This one is from Jurassic World Dominion, and I really like the all black eyes on this figure. Makes it look really scary. And we're gonna place this on the right team. Right here are some older figures, I believe once again from the first Jurassic World movie. This super bright one is actually a hybrid T-Rex. It is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, and it's got the bright neon orange and the reflective gold coloring on its body. So this one is pretty special. So let's place that on the left team right here and check out this other one that is very similar sized but not a hybrid T-Rex. So this is the original version, and it's got a little bit of battle damage right on the side. And let's place this right in front of the hybrid T-Rex on the right team. And finally, I've got some tiny T-Rex figures in here. Let's check all of these out. Looks like there's a couple Snap Squad figures in here. This first Snap Squad T-Rex is in the brown orange coloring with the dark brown on the top. And let's place this on the right side. And then there's also this dark green Snap Squad T-Rex. And I think this T-Rex figure is actually pretty similar in color and design as this one way back there. Look at that, they're basically the same green color. Now let's put this one on the left side here. And for our final two, we've got this crazy looking T-Rex figure. This one's also quite a bit old, so the chomping action doesn't work anymore, sadly. But we'll go ahead and put it on the right team. And then finally, this miniature Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It is all brown, although its eyes look to be painted black, which is a nice detail. And the underbelly is also painted a lighter tan color. And let's finally put this T-Rex on the left team. And so here is our entire versus battle. We've got the left team of T-Rexes over here versus the right team. Which side do you think would win in a battle? Let me know in the comments below. Let's first start by checking out the Mario figure that will be facing off against the Predators. This is the official Super Mario It's-a-Me Mario. And here he is. It's quite a large figure, and this one has some pretty cool features to it. First off, his overalls are actual real fabric. You can see here that I can move it around, and that's really cool. That definitely gives it a whole added dimension. And the rest of the figure is a hard plastic, but it is surprisingly adjustable. You can move the arms in all directions, as well as the legs. You can even bend the knee joint as well, and then you can swivel the head side to side as well. And the coolest part is that this comes with a variety of action features and sound effects. The first special feature is when you press Mario's hand, it comes with some sound effects. So with his right hand, it has the coin collecting sound effect as well as his voice. And with his left hand, let's see what that sounds like. So he's got a punching sound effect on this side. And there's also sound effects in his shoes when he kicks something. It's got that little sound, and then his voice, of course. And then the final sound effect button is on his hat. When you press it, he's got more voice sound effects and music.
It's me, Mario.
Now it's time to check out the first predator in this collection, and this is the super colossal Indoraptor figure. This is one of the newest super colossal figures that Jurassic World has released. It's got the iconic gold stripe running down the side and the black body. And my favorite part are these teeth right here. I love how they stick out and intertwine with the top row. That's so cool. Plus, like all of the other super colossal figures, this Indoraptor has a stomach compartment, so you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs through its mouth down to its stomach. So now it is time to face them off. Mario versus the super colossal Indoraptor. Now right off the bat here, you can see there is a huge size difference between the two. The super colossal Indoraptor is by far the largest. Now Mario has some cool sound effects and buttons, and the Indoraptor has some really great texturing as well as that ability to eat smaller dinosaurs. So who do you think would win in a fight, the Indoraptor or Mario? Our next predator to face off against Mario is this huge Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex figure is from the Jurassic World Dominion movie, and it comes in this dark brown coloring with the black detailing on the top of its back and elsewhere. It's got the bright yellow eyes, and it has an action on its tail to swing the torso back and forth and to chomp the jaw. Check out how big that chomp is. Plus, it looks like there's actually some room in there to fit smaller dinosaurs if it wants to eat some. And now it's time for the T-Rex to face off against Mario. These two figures are a whole lot closer inside, although I think the T-Rex still wins the prize for being taller. And in terms of weight, let's see which one's heavier. This T-Rex actually isn't that heavy, and Mario here, I think, is a bit heavier. So this one's taller, but Mario is the heavier figure. Now then, who do you think would win in a fight? This T-Rex figure or the Mario figure? The next predator to face off is this super special Spinosaurus figure. This Spinosaurus figure is pretty rare. It's in the blue coloring with the yellow detailing on its spine, on its legs, and on its face too. It has a button on the top of its head for the chomping action, but the main reason why this is so special is because of this hidden battle damage on the side that you can open up and reveal its insides. You can actually even lower the ribs as well, and then there's a hidden button over here to make the stomach swirl back and forth. And look at that, there's even some liquid inside of it. So now let's face it off against the one and only Mario. Now with the Spinosaurus standing up all the way, it looks like it's a little bit taller than the Mario figure, or just about the same if you lower it down a little bit. And they've both got their special features here. The Spinosaurus with the massive battle damage on the side, and Mario with his tons of sound effects, like his fists, his feet, and then the button on the top of his head too.
Mario.
And there's also the question of which one is heavier. Let's first check out Mario here, pretty heavy, and then the Spinosaurus. Actually, they're probably right around the same weight, so even though the Spinosaurus is taller, they're the same weight. Now who do you think would win, Mario or the Spinosaurus? For our next predator, we've got the mighty Giganotosaurus dinosaur. This figure is from the Jurassic World Dominion movie, and I'm sure you remember the awesome battle it had against the T-Rex and the Therizinosaurus in the movie. Now this figure's pretty cool. It's got the green body with the black detailing. It's got the huge spine running along its back. It's got a swivel tail here, which is pretty unusual for figures of this size. And it has 2 action buttons on its body. There's a hidden action button right here that activates this huge swinging chomping action. It's got some sound effects too. And then there's actually a hidden action button underneath its tail here for a smaller chomping action. A pretty cool roaring too. So now let's face it off against Mario. And now it looks like Mario is the taller figure of the two. The Giganotosaurus is maybe 3 or 4 inches smaller than Mario. And since Mario is now the larger figure, I would bet that he's the heavier figure. Let's see here, there's Mario. Now let's lift up the Giganotosaurus. You know, it's pretty close, but I think Mario is the heavier figure now. Now the Giganotosaurus is a very fierce predator, but Mario is no easy fight. Who do you think would win, the Giganotosaurus or Mario? Our next predator is a massive Pyroraptor figure. This, I believe, is the largest Pyroraptor I have in my entire collection. It's got some really cool feather texturing all over its body, especially along the back of its face, on its back, and on its tail. It's got some huge marbled eyes as well. And this figure is pretty special because it is actually battery operated. So there's a little switch here that I'm gonna turn on and it'll come to life. And you can actually interact with it by pressing right here. And check that out. It moves, it chomps, and it has sound effects all on its own. Now let's bring it over to face off against Mario. And this Pyroraptor is already ready to fight. Now this time Mario is quite a bit taller than the dinosaur predator figure here. There's probably a 5 or 6 inch difference between Mario and the Pyroraptor figure, but which one is heavier? Let's see. Mario here is decently heavy, and the Pyroraptor here, let's lift it up. Oh, you know what? I think that the Pyroraptor is heavier this time. And that kind of makes sense, because, I mean, look at the size of this thing. There's a lot of plastic on this, and there's motors and batteries in this thing as well. Now, this Pyroraptor figure is one of my favorites because it is battery operated, and you can interact with it. You can get all sorts of chomping actions and stuff. But Mario can do many of the same thing, but just in his own way with the sound effects and with the music. But either way, who do you think would win in a battle? Mario or the Pyroraptor? The next predator dinosaur is the Yangchuanosaurus figure. This predator dinosaur is also from Jurassic World Dominion, specifically from the Massive Action series. It's got the green body with the yellow underbelly and the brown detailing on top with the orange crown on the top of its head, which is one of my favorite things. And it's got some massive actions. First, you can move the tail back and forth to swing the head and torso up and down and back and forth. And there's a button on its tail to chomp the jaw too. Now let's face this predator off against Mario. And now the predator dinosaur is a whole lot smaller than Mario. Both in height, there's probably a 4-inch difference between the two in terms of which one is taller, and in weight. I bet you that Mario is a lot heavier than this Yangchuanosaurus. And it certainly is. This dinosaur figure doesn't have any motors or batteries in it, so that's what makes it quite a bit more lightweight, besides the fact that it's a whole lot smaller. So now, who do you think would win in a fight? But before you answer, I've got a bit of a surprise for you. And that is this massive Bowser figure from the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I figured it'd be cool to get another figure from the Mario series, so let's open it up. And here is the Bowser figure. And this figure is pretty cool. It's got 14 different points of articulation, so you can move the arms, the wrists, the legs around in all different directions. He's got some pretty cool coloring too with the yellow, and that fades into the green, and it's got these spikes all over its shell. But the coolest part about this figure is a hidden feature. When you press this spike, he'll actually breathe smoke, which is actually just steam, but let's check it out. Oh, there we go. You can see it a little bit right there. It is pushing out steam, so it looks like he's breathing out fire. That is pretty cool. So now we actually have a three-way face-off. Mario versus Bowser versus the Yangchuanosaurus. Which do you think would win? Next up is another mighty predator. This one is called the Ecryxenatosaurus. This dinosaur figure is from the new Epic Evolution series. So this figure has some different features that you won't see on older figures. Firstly are its teeth. They're now made out of a soft rubber, so they look a bit more realistic than they used to, I think. And instead of an attack button, it has this dial on its back that you spin back and forth for the chomping and sound effects. That's pretty interesting, but I'm not sure which I like better, the buttons or these spinning dials. And now it's time to face off the Ecryxenatosaurus versus Mario. And now there's even a larger size difference between the two. The Ecryxenatosaurus is probably half the size of Mario here. And Bowser over here might be around the same height, but he's definitely a whole lot heavier than the dinosaur figure. So let me know in the comments, who do you think would win, the Ecryxenatosaurus or Mario? The next predator against Mario is another similar looking dinosaur compared to the last one, but this one is called the Scorpiovenator. It's got a light brown coloring over most of its body with a lighter underbelly and some bright orange detailing along its neck and on its face. And this figure is older than the Epic Evolution series, like the last figure we saw, because you can see that the teeth are hard plastic and they aren't quite as detailed and realistic looking as the other one was. But this figure still has a really cool chomping action when you press down on its body. Check out that full body chomping effect. And now it's time for Predator versus Mario. Once again, Mario towers over this dinosaur figure. It is probably twice the size as the Scorpiovenator dinosaur and a whole lot heavier too, maybe even twice the weight of the Scorpiovenator. This is quite lightweight, although it does have batteries and some speakers in it. Now let me know in the comments, who do you think would win, the Scorpiovenator or Mario? Just a few predators left. This next one is a very different looking one. This super long dinosaur is called the Sarcosuchus, and this one comes in the camo green coloring on the sides and underbelly with the clay red coloring along the top. Check out these rows of spines that go all the way down to its tail. And of course, it's got a huge mouth full of teeth and a very narrow mouth too. Now it's time to face it off against Mario. And first, let's check out that size difference. This Sarcosuchus figure is probably only 3 or 4 inches tall, so then Mario is probably 4 or maybe even 5 times as tall as this predator dinosaur. And I don't think we even have to compare the weights either. I think Mario is definitely heavier than this much smaller dinosaur figure. Oh, and you know what? I forgot to mention that this Sarcosuchus has an attack feature. You saw it earlier, but there's a button on its tail to move its head around and to jump its jaw. So then, who do you think would win in a match? The Sarcosuchus or Mario? And here is our final predator and our smallest one. This dinosaur is called the Atrociraptor, obviously related to the Velociraptor. It has a dark orange body with some tan striping all over, including its tail, its back, and on its face too. And it's pretty adjustable. You can move the arms, the legs, the neck, and the jaw you can open and close manually. Now this dinosaur looks pretty cool, but sadly doesn't have any attack feature. So let's go ahead and place it up against the Mario figure. And this is the biggest size difference between the Predator and Mario so far. This dinosaur is super small compared to Mario. It probably reaches only the top of Mario's leg, and it might be only like 10% of the weight of the Mario figure. So who do you think would win in a battle? The Atrociraptor figure or the Mario figure? First up for the Chaos Theory side is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, because you can be sure that we're gonna see Rexy in the new upcoming show. And this specific figure has a really cool jaw-chomping action. It has a huge bite. Check that out. And for the Camp Cretaceous, we've got the massive Spinosaurus figure. This figure comes in the classic brown coloring with the red on its spine and along its face. So now let's go ahead and place the T-Rex on the Chaos Theory side over here, and the Spinosaurus on the Camp Cretaceous side. And here are our next two dinosaurs. First up for the Chaos Theory side, we've got another Spinosaurus. And while it hasn't been confirmed that a Spinosaurus will actually be in Chaos Theory, I think it would be totally awesome. And this figure in particular is pretty special because it is actually the battle damage Spinosaurus. So you can see right here, you can open it up to reveal the battle damage inside. You can even open its ribs up and spin its stomach around. And for the Camp Cretaceous side, we've got the Scorpius Rex figure. Now this is another crazy looking dinosaur. Check out those huge claws on its hand. And this figure has a couple action buttons. One to activate the jaw and another to activate the claws. And also, check that out, the size difference between the two. The Spinosaurus is way bigger than the Scorpius Rex. So we're gonna put the Spinosaurus on the Chaos Theory side over here, and the Scorpius Rex on the Camp Cretaceous side. The next two dinosaurs in this face-off are T-Rex versus T-Rex. On the Chaos Theory side, we have this first T-Rex in the brown coloring. It's got the action button on its head to activate the jaw-chomping action, and the rest of its body is pretty posable. You can move the arms, the legs, and the tail as well. And for the Camp Cretaceous side, we've got the epic roaring T-Rex. This Tyrannosaurus Rex is also in a light brown coloring with a little bit of darker coloring along the top. But this figure doesn't have a button on its head to activate the chomping. It actually has a button on its tail to activate the jaw chomping, and you can move its neck around too. Now looking at the size comparison, it looks like the Camp Cretaceous figure is quite a bit bigger than the Chaos Theory side over here, but they're both pretty cool looking. So we're gonna put the Chaos Theory T-Rex right over here, and the Camp Cretaceous Epic Roaring T-Rex right over here. I've got our next two dinosaurs here. Can you guess what they are? For the Chaos Theory side, this is a Suchomimus, and I believe that this dinosaur is pretty likely to show up in the Chaos Theory show. This one is in the dark blue coloring with the yellow accenting. Plus it has a chomping attack button too. And for the Camp Cretaceous side, we've got the mighty Carnotaurus dinosaur. This figure has a much darker coloring. It's kind of a red-brown coloring, and then it has black spots all over. And just like the epic roaring T-Rex, it has a button on its tail to chomp its jaw and to move its head around. And once again, comparing the size of these two, it looks like the Carnotaurus is a little bit bigger, although they are the same height, just about. Now then, let's put the Suchomimus over here on the Chaos Theory side, and this awesome Carnotaurus on the Camp Cretaceous side. Next, for the Chaos Theory side, I've got an Allosaurus figure. This is a really cool predator dinosaur. It comes in the brown and blue coloring, and it has a dial on its back for the roaring and the chomping action. And up against that is this Sinoceratops figure for Camp Cretaceous. It comes in this gray coloring, it has some tan and yellow as well, and when you move the tail, it actually activates the sound effects. Now let's put the Allosaurus over here on the Chaos Theory side, and the Sinoceratops on the right side, the Camp Cretaceous side. And here are two more dinosaur figures. For Chaos Theory is another Suchomimus figure. I'm sure you remember this one that we saw just a little while ago in the blue coloring, and I thought it'd be cool to add another one. But this one is in an all yellow coloring with the brown accenting. And this dinosaur has two action buttons. One chomps its jaw open and closed, and the other swings its tail back and forth. Now up against that for the Camp Cretaceous side is this Albertosaurus figure in this green coloring with this dark red along its head. Plus this figure is pretty special because it is actually the battle damage version. So there is some scrapes on its leg there, and then the battle damage on its stomach that you can open and close. And you can even slide its ribs up and down. Now, who do you think would win in a battle against each other? The Suchomimus or the Albertosaurus? I'm inclined to think that the Albertosaurus would win. So let's put the Suchomimus over here on the Chaos Theory side and the Albertosaurus on the Camp Cretaceous side. And next up are two very similar figures. For the Camp Cretaceous side, we've got the Dino Tracker's Stegosaurus figure. This figure is pretty awesome looking because it has such a variety of colors all over its body. It has a few buttons that you can press to swing its tail up and down, and it comes with this really cool backpack piece. And on the Camp Cretaceous side, we've got another Stegosaurus over here. And this figure is actually an older figure from the Camp Cretaceous toy line. You can see that it has very different coloring with this dark blue gray compared to this white, brown, and red. And this figure doesn't have a backpack piece, and there's only one button located right here in its spine that you can use to swing its tail back and forth. So all in all, these figures look pretty identical other than the coloring and the backpack. So we're gonna put this Stegosaurus over on the Chaos Theory side and this one over on the Camp Cretaceous side. Now here are the next two. First off, for Chaos Theory is a Ceratosaurus figure. This figure comes in the brown with the orange accenting all along its body, and it has a single action button to chomp the jaw opened and closed. And up against that dinosaur for the Camp Cretaceous side is a Cryolophosaurus. I think this figure looks a bit more crazier. Look at this crazy cool crown on the top of its head, and it has so much more interesting coloring and detailing on its body too. And on this figure you can move the tail to move its head back and forth as well. Now these are some pretty different looking dinosaurs, but who do you think would win in the fight? Now let's put the Chaos Theory dinosaur over here and the Camp Cretaceous dinosaur right over here. It's time for the next two. For Chaos Theory, I've got the white Atrociraptor figure here. Now this is a basic figure, so there's no attack button, but it still has some really cool detailing and coloring on its body. And up against that for Camp Cretaceous is this Scorpius Rex figure. Now we already do have one other Scorpius Rex figure in this collection so far, but this one is actually a different figure. You can see that it's a more green color, as that one was a blue color, and this one's a little bit smaller as well. And sadly, there is no action button on this, although you can manually open and close the mouth, as well as move other parts of its body. Now then, in this fight, the Chaos Theory Atrociraptor versus Camp Cretaceous Scorpius Rex, who do you think would win? I think it would be the Scorpius Rex, because you better watch out for these poisonous quills. Now let's quickly put the Atrociraptor on the Chaos Theory side and the Scorpius Rex on the Camp Cretaceous side. Next up, starting on the Chaos Theory side, is this smaller T-Rex figure that is actually part of the Sound Surge series. With this smaller figure, you can manually open and close the mouth, and it has a single button on its back for the classic sound effects. And for the Camp Cretaceous side is a Baryonyx figure. This figure specifically is in the green coloring with the brown accenting, and it has a single action button right here on its back to activate the jaw chomping. So we've got a T-Rex versus a Baryonyx. Which side do you think would win? I think that although this T-Rex is smaller than usual, the Baryonyx still would not stand a chance against this dinosaur. Now let's put this on the Chaos Theory side and this one on the Camp Cretaceous side. Next up, for the Chaos Theory side, I've got another Ceratosaurus figure. This one is in a yellow coloring with the green along the top and a single action button on its back for chomping the jaw. And up against that is this massive Camp Cretaceous Sarcosuchus figure. This figure is quite a bit more colorful with the blue, orange, red, purple, and then the green eyes. And you can use the tail, move it around, to move the head and to chomp the jaw. Both of these figures are pretty cool, so let's put the Ceratosaurus on the Chaos Theory side and the Sarcosuchus on the Camp Cretaceous side. Next up for Chaos Theory is an Ankylosaurus dinosaur. This figure is in the classic coloring with the brown underbelly and then the gray spikes with some green along its shell and along the top of its head. And it's got an action button on its back to activate the tail swinging action. And up against that for the Camp Cretaceous side is this Ouranosaurus dinosaur. It's got a dark green body with some yellow accenting and some orange and blue along the front of its face. And this figure has an action button as well. Using this little button on the side, you can move its head up and down and get sound effects. So let's place this on the Camp Cretaceous side over here, and the Ankylosaurus on the Chaos Theory side. Now it's time for the next two. For the Chaos Theory side, I've got another massive Allosaurus figure. However, this one comes in the gray coloring with the yellow accenting on its legs, its back, and even right around its eyes. And there's a single action button on its back to activate the jaws. And for the Camp Cretaceous side is actually an herbivore. This is a Parasaurolophus. It has the bright yellow coloring with the reflective pink and purple, and you can move its tail back and forth to get sound effects and move its head. Now, which of these two do you think would win? This one is a predator and this one is an herbivore, so I'm very inclined to think that the Chaos Theory side would win this time. Now let's place the Allosaurus on the Chaos Theory side and the Parasaurolophus on the Camp Cretaceous side. Now I've got some smaller figures here. For the Chaos Theory, I have a green Velociraptor figure. This figure features posable legs, arms, and jaw, but sadly it doesn't have any action buttons on it. And for the Camp Cretaceous side is a Monolithosaurus figure. This specific figure is in the dark blue coloring. It looks like it has some tan accenting along the top of its head, and it's quite posable as well, and once again does not have an action button, sadly. So here they are facing off against each other. So let's place the Velociraptor on the Chaos Theory side and the Monolithosaurus on the Camp Cretaceous side. And here are the next two. For Chaos Theory, I've got another Velociraptor. This one though is in a gray with lime green coloring along the top of its body, and that dinosaur is up against this Camp Cretaceous Stygimoloch figure. And this one is a whole lot darker. You can see some purple, but most of its body is that clay red coloring. And you can actually activate its head ramming action by pressing down on its tail. And now let's get these dinosaurs to their sides. This one on the Chaos Theory side, and this one on the Camp Cretaceous side. And to finish it all off is not another dinosaur, but it is actually Darius. I'm sure you remember Darius from Camp Cretaceous, and we all know that he is set to appear in the Chaos Theory series. And since he's technically in both, we're gonna have him on both sides. And this is the entire Chaos Theory versus Camp Cretaceous collection. Let me know in the comments which side you liked more. Was it the Chaos Theory side or the Camp Cretaceous side? First, and one of the newest figures in here is this super colossal Indoraptor figure. This figure is absolutely massive. It's got the gold stripe down the side and some really cool teeth. We're gonna place that over here on the left side, which will be the Raptor side. Now it's time for the IRex side. This is the super colossal Indominus Rex figure. It has the classic gray coloring with lots of texturing on its body, and it also has some really cool teeth, although I think that the Indoraptor's teeth is even cooler. So let's place this on the right side, which will be the IRex side. Check it out, I've actually got two super colossal figures for the Raptor side. This one is an Atrociraptor figure. This figure comes in the white with brown striping, and the shape of its head and its teeth are quite different compared to the Indoraptor figure. For the IRex side, I've got this crazy custom colored Indominus Rex. It used to be gray, kind of like this super colossal figure back here, but now it is a really cool camouflage green and they painted a bunch of blood around its mouth, which is a pretty cool detail. And we'll place this IRex right next to the Super Colossal. Next up for the Raptors is this massive Pyroraptor figure. And this figure is actually battery operated. So now once you turn it on here, you can actually interact with this toy. Very cool. And let's place that right here on the Raptor side. Next for the IRexes is this older IRex figure made by Hasbro. It's got very different coloring compared to the classic gray that they have now. There's some gold on its arms and its underbelly and some red on its back. Plus it has some hidden spikes and it has a battery operated jaw. And we'll place this IRex figure right underneath the Super Colossal figure. For the Raptor side, I've got the new Dino Trackers Indoraptor. You can move its arm for some sound effects, and there's a button on its back for chomping the jaw too. So now let's place this right underneath the Super Colossal Indoraptor. Now this figure is also from the new Dino Trackers series. This is the new Indominus Rex figure. It's a bit smaller than the older versions, but it still has the same classic coloring, and you can use the button on its tail to chomp its jaw. Check out that really cool green lighting too. All right, let's set this IRex down right here. Next, I've got an Amber Collection Velociraptor figure in the brown coloring with the black on top. This figure is superposable. We're gonna set that down on the Raptor side right here. Here is another massive Indominus Rex figure. This one is custom colored in the blue, purple, orange, and black. Plus it's got those really cool green eyes and the chomping effect too. Let's put this one right over here, right next to the other custom colored. Here is another Indoraptors for the Raptor side. This is actually the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. So it's got a button on its tail that'll slash its arms back and forth, as well as a button on its tail to chomp its jaw. And we'll go ahead and put this Indoraptor right here. Time for another IRex figure. This is the Battle Damage Edition IRex. So it has the same coloring as many of the other ones, but it has this special battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. So let's go ahead and place this IRex right over there and grab our next Raptor, which is a Pyroraptor figure. This is the basic figure, so there's no action button, but it still has a decent amount of texturing and coloring. And we're gonna place this Pyroraptor right in front of the super large one behind it. This IRex figure is slightly smaller than many of the other ones that I've shown you so far, and it's actually an older version. So this one was also made by Hasbro. And while most of its body is a hard plastic, up at its neck is actually a soft rubber all the way onto its face. And you can move the arm for sound effects and a chomping action. And we're gonna go ahead and place this one right here. Next is another Amber Collection Velociraptor figure, but this one has the orange with brown striping. And these are some of my favorites just because of all the different ways that you can pose them. So now let's set this up on the Raptor side over here. And here's another ginormous Indominus Rex figure. Now this IRex figure is actually the same as these two custom colored ones here in the back. So it has the button on the tail for chomping the jaw and the button on its back for slashing its arms. Now let's put this IRex way in the back here on the IRex side. This next figure is an Atrociraptor figure, and it kind of has the same coloring as many of these IRex figures, but it has the brown striping and it looks very similar to this Super Colossal version that I have right here. But this one is a basic edition, so it doesn't have any attack features. It just has the cool texturing and color design. And we're gonna put it right next to the Pyroraptors here. Next up is this crazy looking IRex figure. This one is also made by Mattel, but it looks quite a bit different with these blue spikes on its back and these bright orange marbled eyes. Plus it has a crazy swinging attack when you move its tail up and down. Let's put this crazy figure right over here. This is another Indoraptor figure. I think I actually have quite a few Indoraptors in here. I've got one over there, two over there, and then the Super Colossal. So this is the fourth of this collection. And this is the basic edition. So this one is a lot smaller, doesn't have any action features, but it still has the really cool coloring and texturing. This little IRex figure, I think is called the Feeding Frenzy IRex. There is a little button on its head that you can press for sound effects, and you can move its tail up to open its mouth, and then when you press down on the tongue, it'll actually snap shut and its eyes will light up too. And we're gonna put this right over here on the IRex side. Here is the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor Blue. This figure is battery operated, has a small body and a super large head, and you can actually interact with this figure. There's a button on the top of its head that you can touch, get some sound effects, and you can touch underneath the chin to have it walk around. Let's place this raptor figure right over here next to the Indoraptor. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's a whole lot smaller compared to many of the other figures, and it has this single button on its back for the sound effects. Now let's place this one right back here. For the Raptors, I've got another Rowdy Roars figure. This is an Atrociraptor figure. It has the same shaped body and the head, and it has the button on the top for the sound effects. And you can touch underneath its chin and have it walk around. So let's go ahead and put that right next to the other Rowdy Roars Raptor. This next IRex figure was not created by Mattel or Hasbro, but a modeling company, so it looks a whole lot more realistic. Although this is definitely more of a display piece since the only part you can move is its mouth open and closed. Which is a bummer, but all in all, it is a really cool looking figure. Next up now is a vintage Raptor figure. This figure was made for the first Jurassic World movie and was made by Hasbro. It has an action button on its side that doesn't work anymore, but it was a battle damage button. And on this figure, you can move the tail up and down to get a jaw chomping action. Now, why don't we go ahead and put this right up front? Here's a kind of similar looking Indominus Rex figure and was actually made around the same time. This also came out for the first Jurassic World movie, and it features the battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and the tail controls the jaw as well, so you can get some chomping action with this figure too. And we're gonna put this one on the front lines as well. Alrighty, another Velociraptor blue figure, one of my favorite. This one is from the Amber collection, so it has some pretty cool texturing and detailing, and is superposable just like the others. So we're gonna place it right next to the other Amber collection figures. This next figure is pretty special. This is a Lego IRex figure. Check out that really cool coloring and design on its body to make the skin look really textured, and it's got some bright red eyes too. Let's put this IRex figure right over here. And here is the last Amber collection figure in this series. This is the teal Velociraptor figure, which is one of my personal favorite coloring for these Amber collection figures. So then let's place that right over there next to the Amber collection. And now let's check out the smallest IRex figure yet. This one is even smaller than many of the Raptor figures that I have, but it still has this really cool feature that when you move the tail, you can move the head around. And why don't we place this one right there? This next Velociraptor figure is a pretty special one because its legs are actually spring-loaded. So you can press it down, and then when you release it, it'll fly up into the air. That is a pretty cool feature, and I do love the super bright coloring on this figure. Now here is our final IRex figure of this collection. It is the tiny Snap Squad IRex figure. So you can lift up its mouth since it's spring-loaded and latch it on to anything that you want. Let's put this right there. And here is our final Velociraptor figure of the collection, a yellow and brown version. But not only that, it has a battle damage right on the side that you can flip open and close. So why don't we get started with the largest ones. This is the first Jurassic World Dominion figure, and it is a super colossal Atrociraptor. This figure has the white body with the two tones of brown striping and the bright red eyes. And this one's gonna go on the Dominion side. On the Camp Cretaceous side, we've actually got two super colossal figures. This first one is Carnotaurus Toro with the clay red coloring, the two horns on the top of its head, and the battle damage on its nose. The other super colossal figure for Camp Cretaceous is the giant Indominus Rex figure. This one is one of my favorite super colossal figures. It has the all gray body with the orange eyes and these super long teeth. Now let's grab some more. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This figure has a larger head than many T-Rexes and a dark brown body. We're gonna put that on the Dominion side. Now let's grab that Camp Cretaceous T-Rex. This is the Epic Roarin' T-Rex. And you can see that it is a much lighter color compared to the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. And best of all, has a button that activates its jaw. Let's set this down to face off with the Dominion T-Rex. Back on the Dominion side, we're gonna go with this Giganotosaurus figure. This Giganotosaurus is slightly smaller than the Dominion T-Rex, but it has this awesome spine running along its back and the bright green color all over its body. Check out these action attacks too. And we're gonna set that down right next to the T-Rex. Next for Camp Cretaceous, we're gonna go with the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus figure. It features a light brown skin color over most of its body, much like the T-Rex. It also has the red coloring on its face and on its spine, as well as the darker brown on the top. Let's set this down right next to the Camp Cretaceous T-Rex. For Dominion, we're next gonna go with this Battle Damage Allosaurus figure. This dinosaur is the smallest figure we've seen so far, but the coolest part is the battle damage right on the side that you can open up and show the stomach that's right underneath it. It's pretty gross. Plus, there is a jaw-chopping action too. We're gonna put this right in between the Giganotosaurus and the T-Rex. For Camp Cretaceous, let's go ahead and grab this Scorpius Rex figure. This figure is quite a bit smaller than the Spinosaurus, but still quite large in comparison to many other figures. It features the dark body with the brighter underbelly, and it has two action buttons, one for the jaw and one to slash the arms. And we'll set it down right in between the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus. Next up for Jurassic World Dominion is the Therizinosaurus figure. This dinosaur is actually an herbivore, but it sure looks scary with these huge claws on its hands. And it has a button on its tail for a chomping action. And let's go ahead and set it right next to the Giganotosaurus. For Camp Cretaceous, we're gonna grab this Carnotaurus Toro figure. Now we actually already have a Carnotaurus Toro figure in this collection. It is the super colossal way back here, and you can notice that there's actually quite a bit of difference in the coloring, but it's still pretty awesome, and it has a jaw-chomping action too. And we're gonna place that right next to the Spinosaurus. For Dominion, next is the Siamosaurus dinosaur figure. This figure stands on all four legs and has a spine kind of like the Spinosaurus figure over here on Camp Cretaceous, and you can use the tail to move the head up and down as well as open and close its jaw. Let's place this dinosaur on the front lines of the Dominion side here. For the next Camp Cretaceous, we're gonna grab this Albertosaurus dinosaur figure. As you can see, it's a little bit smaller than the Carnotaurus Toro figure, and it features an all-green body with orange detailing and an attack button on its tail for chomping its jaw. Now let's place it right in front of the Spinosaurus. For Dominion next, we're gonna go with the Scorpiovenator figure. I got this figure pretty recently. I actually have an older version that's colored differently. This one is in a dark brown and orange coloring, and it has an attack that you activate by pressing down on its body. And we're gonna put the Scorpiovenator right there on the Dominion side. This is a Cryolophosaurus for Camp Cretaceous. It's got a dark blue body with some red and white on it. It has adjustable arms and legs and a tail that you can move around to move its head. And let's go ahead and put it right there next to the Albertosaurus. Here is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure for Jurassic World Dominion. It is the first Indominus Rex on the Dominion side in this collection, and it has the sound effects that you can activate with the button. Let's put it up right behind the Siamosaurus. This Baryonyx figure is gonna be part of the Camp Cretaceous side. It features the bright green body with some brown along the top of its head and its neck, and it has the slide lever action for sound effects and a chomping motion. Now let's put it right next to the Cryolophosaurus. These next two figures for Jurassic World Dominion are both basic figures, so they can't do much. But this first one is an Atrociraptor, pretty similar to the super colossal one we've got in the back here. And we're gonna put it right in the back over here. And this other one is a Pyroraptor figure, which is actually the first of this collection. And we're gonna put that right in front of the Atrociraptor. I've got a big old Stegosaurus figure for Camp Cretaceous. This one features the dark blue-gray coloring with the darker striping along its back. And it has the attack button. When you press down on its spine, it swings its tail. Now let's set this in the back here next to the Carnotaurus figure. Next for Dominion is the Sound Surge T-Rex figure. Just like the Indominus Rex figure back there, it has a sound effect button right on its back. Let's set that way in the back here next to the Atrociraptor. This next figure is the Camp Cretaceous Ceratosaurus figure. It features the classic gray, dark blue, and red detailing for the Ceratosaurus figures, and it has the slide lever action on its back for the sound effects and chomping. Let's put this down right next to the Baryonyx. Here's another Sound Surge figure for Dominion. This is the Carnotaurus version. And compared to the Camp Cretaceous Carnotaurus Toro figure, this one has a lot more simple coloring and design. There's only a little bit of gray detailing on the top of its head, and the rest of its body is just a plain red with a little bit of white underneath its chin. Now let's hear that sound effect as we set it down. For Camp Cretaceous, I've got the Sarcosuchus figure. I believe Mattel has released two versions of this. The other one is a greenish color, but this one is in the bright blue with some brighter detailing along the top of its body and the purple. And it has the tail that can control the head and the jaw. Now let's set this figure up right in front of the Ceratosaurus. And here is our final Sound Surge figure for the Dominion side. This is the Giganotosaurus version. Like the other Sound Surge figures, it's pretty basic in design, although this one does have better detailing and coloring. And of course, it's got the sound effects, so let's hear it. Next up, for Camp Cretaceous, I believe this one is called the Oranosaurus. It features posable legs, tail, and it has this slide lever on its back to activate its head. And we're gonna set it down in the back, right next to the feet of the giant super colossal Indominus Rex. Here is an Iguanodon figure for the Dominion side. This herbivore actually came as a set alongside this Scorpio Venator figure. And it features sound effects and an attack move when you press down on its body. And we're gonna set it down right here. For Camp Cretaceous, we've got a pretty sizable figure. This is another herbivore, and it is a Sinoceratops. This figure is in the gray with tan detailing and a little bit of yellow along the front of its head. And you can move the tail around to control the head. This is the Ichthyovenator dinosaur for the Dominion side. It's got a green body and a brighter green spine and tail. And like many of the Dominion figures, it has an attack when you press down on its body. Let's go ahead and put this right next to the Giganotosaurus. We're getting down to our last few here. This is a Camp Cretaceous Parasaurolophus figure. It features the yellow body with the purple and reflective pink coloring all over, and you can use its tail to control its head. And we're gonna place it down right next to the Sinoceratops. For Dominion, here is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. It features the classic coloring for Baryonyxes in the dark blue with some gray and then the white striping, and of course is extremely posable all over its body. Now let's set this down right in front of the Giganotosaurus figure. And here is the last Camp Cretaceous figure. This is the Ankylosaurus. There are a few different versions of this Ankylosaurus. This one comes in the bright blue coloring with the yellow underbelly, and it has the slide lever action on its back to swing its tail back and forth. Now let's place this down right in front of the Baryonyx over here. And our final figure in this entire collection going to the Dominion side is this Dimetrodon figure. This figure features the dark green brown coloring along its body and then the bright orange and brown spine. And let's go ahead and put that right next to this Ichthyovenator. Now, which side do you think wins this versus competition? The Dominion side or the Camp Cretaceous side? Let me know in the comments below. So let's set up the first IRex in this collection. This is the Super Colossal IRex. It is by far the largest IRex figure that I have, and my favorite part are the teeth on this figure. They are so cool looking. Let's put this figure on the left side, ready to face off with whatever's next. The next Indominus Rex figure to reveal is this custom colored Indominus Rex figure. It's quite a large figure, although not quite as large as the Super Colossal figure, and the best part about this figure is the custom coloring. Let's set this IRex on the right side to face off. The next figure that I'm gonna grab is this one right here. Let's see what it is. All right, so this figure is actually the same figure as the custom colored one right there, but this is the original coloring. It's got the mostly gray body and the orange eyes instead. Plus it's got a claw slashing action and a jaw chomping action. Why don't we set this one down on the right side next to the custom colored one. All right, let's keep digging. Let's grab this one right here. This is the Battle Damage Edition Indominus Rex. It's pretty similar to these two figures back here, around the same size and has similar coloring, but the special feature is that it has battle damage right on the side that you can turn on and off. And of course, it has a jaw chomping action too. All right, now let's put this on the left side next to the super colossal Indominus Rex. Let's go for this crazy colored one next. This IRex, I believe, is actually a Hasbro IRex, so it's pretty old. And not only that, but it is a hybrid Indominus Rex. It's got the spikes on the top of its back that you can turn on and off. It's got some crazy horns on the top of its head, that classic super long teeth for the Indominus Rex, and it also has a motorized jaw-chomping action. So let's set this Hasbro Indominus Rex on the right side. This next IRex is another weird looking one. This is the Indominus Rex figure by Imaginext. It's got a bunch of blue spikes all over its back, running down almost to the end of its tail. It of course has the huge teeth in its mouth. And the best part about this figure is the attack button. When you press down on its tail, look at that, it swings its head around in all sorts of circles. It's pretty cool. It's a bit smaller than all these other figures, but it's still a pretty awesome dinosaur figure. So let's set this one right next to the super colossal IRex. Moving right along, we've got another old IRex figure from Hasbro. This figure looks pretty normal at first glance. It's got the gray body with the spikes on its back, but what's special about this figure is that it actually has a rubberized head and neck, which you can chomp open and close by pressing down on its arms. And it's a little hard to see, but its back actually lights up as well. You can see that glow right along its spikes. Now, which side should we put this Indominus Rex on? I think we should put it on the right side. Let's keep going. I've got another huge Indominus Rex figure. This one I think is actually the same as this one back here. So it has the claw slashing action and the jaw chomping action. And look at that, this figure also has a glowing neck. You can see that glowing red right there. How cool is that? Let's set this figure down on the left side, ready to face off. Now let's grab this one right here. This one is a crazy looking one. This one is actually a motorized Indominus Rex. You can see the wheels underneath its feet. Unfortunately, the battery doesn't work anymore, but it's still pretty cool to have in my collection. I think those are like little sensors for driving on the front of its nose. But normally it would be a self-balancing, so it would stand up on its legs and be able to move around. And I'm gonna put this one also on the left side right here. Next, I'm gonna go with this IRex figure right here. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure. It has the classic gray coloring and a little bit of dark brown right on the top. Of course, it's got the orange eyes, very similar to all the rest of these. And of course, it's got one button on its back for some sound effects. Now let's put this Indominus Rex right here on the right side. I'm gonna go with this one next. This, I believe, is the Rowdy Roars Indominus Rex figure. This figure is shaped quite a bit differently than all the other figures. It's got a huge head and a small body, but it still has some pretty cool features. There is a button on the top of its nose for sound effects. And when you press on its tongue, it actually snaps its jaw shut. So I'm gonna put this IRex figure here on the left side. Up next, I've got a model Indominus Rex figure right here. Now this figure wasn't made by Hasbro or Mattel. In fact, I don't think it was actually officially licensed, but it has some pretty cool details. And I think it looks pretty similar to the ones made by Mattel and Hasbro too. And since this figure is a model, you can't move the legs or the arms. The only part that you can move is the jaw. Now let's put this IRex figure right here on the right side. And now finally, it's time for the new one that I just bought. Let's open it up and see what it is. I am super excited for this one. This is so cool. This is a custom colored Indominus Rex figure. This figure is actually the same figure as this one back here, but it has way more epic coloring. It is in the camo green color. Look at all those different shades of green in there. And the best part is that it's got a bloody mouth. Look how scary that looks. That's so cool. It looks like they also painted the spikes black as well as the dinosaur claws. That is so cool. I'm so excited to have this in my collection. Let's go ahead and put this one on the right side. I've also got a few Lego Indominus Rex figures. This is the largest one that I have. And of course, it's got the classic white with the gray detailing. And this one actually has some red eyes. That is pretty cool. Let's set this one down on the right side right here. And next up, I've got some more smaller dinosaurs in here. This is a battle damage IRex. You can see the battle damage right there on the side that you can open and close. And not only that, but its legs and arms are posable, and you can use the tail for a chomping action. Let's set this one down here on the left side. This next small IRex figure, I believe, is called the Bite and Thrash IRex. It also has a little bit of battle damage on the side, and the arms and legs are posable, and it also has the tail that controls the mouth. Let's sit down this IRex on the right side. All right, now we're getting into the real small figures here. Let's go ahead and put them all on the table. First, I've got another Lego IRex figure. This one has the white and gray body, but it also has some green eyes. And we're gonna put this one right next to the big Lego IRex. The next Lego IRex figure also has the gray and white body, but this one has the red eyes. I think this big Lego IRex came as a set with this smaller one, so we're gonna have to put them side by side too. Next up, I've got the Snap Squad Indominus Rex figure right here. Its mouth is spring-loaded, so it can actually latch onto stuff. So let's put this little IRex figure on the left side. Only two more left. This super small Indominus Rex has some silver reflective painting all over the top of its body. Plus, you can even open and close its mouth too. Now we're gonna set this one on the left side here. And finally, I think this IRex figure is pretty special. This is a completely clear IRex figure. It's really cool, but it still has some pretty awesome detailing and texturing all over its body. Look at that, you can even see its eyes and its teeth. And let's set this on the right side. All right, there is my entire IRex collection set up for a versus battle. Why don't you comment down below your favorite and let me know. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.